Good evening, I'm Willard Cheng, sitting in for Pinky Webb. Tonight, we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Today, February 25, marks the 40th anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution that put an end to 14 years of dictatorship. 4 decades later, Filipinos have again taken to the streets, renewing calls to end dynastic rule and corruption. What makes this year's commemoration especially significant? Let's get on point with Tindig Pilipinas spokesperson, Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio. Good evening, ma'am, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, Willard, and thank you for having me.
Ma'am, first of all, how would you assess today's turnout, and are you confident that the group was able to send its message across?
We were happy with our turnout, considering it's a working holiday rather, and so we got also participation from the Catholic Educators Association of the Philippines. So young persons from Ateneo, La Salle, some of the other major Catholic universities came over. And like EDSA 40 years ago, many of the social action centers of the church and many other events, not just the church, but many other events were held throughout the country to commemorate EDSA 40.
Mm-hmm. And on the issue of corruption, ma'am, what can you say about the pace and the progress of the government's efforts to run after those behind the flood control project scandal and other projects suspected to be corrupt?
Yes, well, I will add, Willard, that the event today was also called the Trillion Peso March, third, 3.0. So the first one was on September 21. The second big rally was on November 30, and this is, of course, the third big rally. We are beginning to be discouraged and disappointed by the response of government over these past 4 or 5 months since the issue exploded, because we're not really seeing any big fish being brought to jail or even tried really. One former senator, one possible other senator whom we haven't even seen put in jail, and the big names that have been coming up over the months, clearly, even, for example, former Representative Saldico, are nowhere to be seen. So we're a bit discouraged, perhaps. The ICI process has failed us also to bring people to justice. So the agenda of reform is, rather of accountability, is finding it more and more difficult to bring accountability in government, and that is a problem that we must now put on the door of President Marcos himself, who promised us these reforms or these investigations.
But do you still see hope, ma'am? Do you still see accountability being pursued and for justice to take place during the Marcos administration?
Definitely for our group, we will continue to press on for accountability as long as we possibly can, as long as people are willing to push as well and hold on to their vigilance and their anger. But things are not, I think, completely dark, because our anger at this systemic corruption has made people question the system itself and has brought on possibilities for change that are may not be about accountability, but they are really about reform. And so our message today was not just to hold those people accountable who need to be held accountable for the corruption, but also to pass an anti-dynasty bill, and certainly certain measures also in the House and the Senate that will give us a stronger investigative body on the matter of the flood control scandal, that is truly independent and will have the kinds of power needed to investigate the problem and bring people to justice.
On your call for the passage of an anti-political dynasty law, what version does the group support, ma'am?
Yes. Well, a big youth group came today, and their slogan was "Pass the Anti-Dynasty Bill, fourth degree of consanguinity." But that is there are two important elements, I think, to the bills that we would be looking at or hoping for, not just the degree of consanguinity, but also how we will keep one dynasty from still having different members of their family in different should it be once you have a family member at the national level, no one else should be at the national level. If you have a governor, should that be it? Those are the kinds of discussions that we will be needing to have. No, in this regard, there are beginning efforts and bigger and bigger coalitions, which Tindig is joining in, to get a real good dialogue and discussion among various interested groups. And there is a tremendous amount of interest, both in ordinary people and also civil society organizations, academic organizations, about putting our heads together and coming up with our desired bill, which we will begin to fight for in Congress and in the Senate, well, in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And we do have champions among our political leaders in the Senate and in the House of Representatives.
Paano ho yan, ma'am? Kasi may mga balita rin po na mukhang nagkakaroon ng consensus, at least sa Senado, na hanggang second degree lang daw po ang pagbabawalan pagdating sa political dynasty. Your take on it, ma'am?
Yes, well, I hope not. We're still hoping that we put our faith in some of our senators, particularly, for example, one of our leaders of our opposition has been consistent, si Senator Risa Ontiveros, that she still might be able to work and fight for fourth degree of consanguinity, if that is what our group will really gel around, and it looks like that's where we're wanting to go, no? If you don't mind, Willard, I'm a veteran of the reproductive health struggle that took 15 years, 16 years to pass, no?
Across different administrations. From,
yes.
the first
and
Aquino president.
Yes, and it was an Aquino presidency that finally gave us that bill, no? A hard struggle. But I think we have the capacity as civil society organizations to fight for important legislation, like what happens sa reproductive health bill, no? At that time, our big oppositor was the Catholic Church. Luckily, this time around, we are with I think the Catholic Church is already also interested in helping out. So the worst thing is to have a law that will actually just legitimize what's happening now with the political dynasties. So I am, in that sense, optimistic, not because we already have a clear ideal law or a very clear path, but I am optimistic that if this is the kind of legislation that is of national importance, and I believe it is, then the people, the small people, and this was our call in EDSA as well today, na ang people power ay yung maliliit na tao. The real power behind what happened in EDSA was not big players, but they were just people coming together, expending their energy. And it took quite a bit of time before EDSA happened. So I'm also optimistic that whatever opposition comes in our face, if we continue to have to work in a legislative advocacy position in Congress and Senate, that we will be able to work out a bill up to and including if they want to pass a bill that we cannot live with, then we can also fight that that bill will not be passed.
All right. Please hold that thought, ma'am. We'll just take a short break. We'll continue our discussion with Tindig Pilipinas spokesperson, Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio, when we return. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back, and still with us, Tindig Pilipinas spokesperson, Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio. Ma'am, still on the proposed anti-political dynasty law, are you also optimistic that such legislation will happen this Congress under the Marcos administration?
We believe there's a very small chance that it can happen. But as you can tell, Willard, the chance also is dependent on how we are able to continue political and public pressure on our legislators. If they're feeling a bit not pressured, then it might not pass. But then again, my own perspective is that if it takes several Congresses, then let's go for that.
Gaya ng napatunayan po ninyo dun sa reproductive health law, ano po?
Willard, if you don't mind my saying, what was the most touching moment for me kanina sa EDSA was that the young people and us oldies, who they call the EDSA survivors, martial law survivors and victims, nagsalubungan, and the young people gave us flowers as oldies and veterans. So I think from a long perspective, we can continue to be able to effect some amount of development and reform for our people. Because we refer to the reproductive health bill, we're beginning to see the benefits of that bill. And it took a long time to fight for. We're only in the second decade, the early second decade since it's been passed, and it's beginning to show some benefits for not just for the women of our country, but also for their families and also for the development of the country as a whole. So we are not going to find it difficult to keep on fighting. The young people who gave us all these flowers today have promised to continue the struggle. So the story of our nation continues. From the long view, we hope that this bill will get passed because it's in the Constitution that we should have an anti-dynasty bill.
And very important na bantayan, ano ma'am, dahil very creative ang mga politicians dito sa Pilipinas at sigurado makakahanap sila ng loophole para lusutan ng batas.
Totoong uphill battle yan kasi why will they legislate against their own interest? But there's a chance, so we'll go for it. And hopefully we can get a bill that will pass.
Related to today's commemoration of the EDSA People Power Revolution, ma'am, what are your thoughts on proposals to institutionalize by law the declaration of February 25 every year as a national holiday?
I agree with this because what has happened, and this is very sad, is that certain forces have made it appear as if EDSA was a struggle between two elites, the Marcoses and the Aquinos. They've made it appear that it was more a military uprising. There are so many different interpretations that I don't believe are accurate in terms of history, and I don't believe teach the lessons that we had in EDSA. So aside from making it a holiday, a lot of work has to be done even with our Department of Education so that EDSA is taught properly, and therefore our lessons that will be learned from history can be learned by our people. Our people fought for their freedom of expression, democracy from a dictatorship that had stayed in power for very, very long. we fought against corruption at that time. And what was important actually at that moment was that our nation was not divided by the extreme polarization of political personalities, dynasties, who were unlike today, we are polarized around dynasties who are actually feeding this kind of toxicity for their own good. So I think if we should continue to try to learn the lessons of EDSA, that we can have our differences as a people, we can have very different political leanings, but we don't need to have the kind of toxic politics that only benefits the dynasties themselves.
With that, Tindig Pilipinas spokesperson Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio, thank you very much for your time and good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
And that's On Point. Join us again tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. I'm Willard Cheng, sitting in for Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.